What's up, you guys? Hope you're doing well. My name is Rob Allen. I'm a direct response copywriter who's generated over $100 million in sales. And in this video today, I actually want to share a presentation I did earlier this year for my good friend Troy Erickson's mastermind, where I talked a ton about some very powerful email marketing tips, strategies, and techniques that I've never seen discussed anywhere else online. That a lot of people loved this one. In fact, I got replies after I did the presentation of people saying this completely changed the way I thought about email marketing, funnel building, flow building, email writing, and so much more. So I actually wanted to share this out with everyone, because if you're an email marketer, a copywriter, a founder with an email list, this could completely change the way you think about going in and doing some really cool and innovative things out there with email. And you can get a quick crash course in it in under 30 minutes for completely free. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this leaked presentation from inside Troy Erickson's mastermind.
Obviously, Rob is joining us to talk about all the things that he's seen working lately in email, especially in 2022, some weird things that are going to work, some things that you should definitely be trying. If you don't know Rob, he's good friends with Chase Diamond, and they paired up on the Black Friday Summit. Both of them send probably, I don't know, like millions and millions of emails per year. So he knows what he's talking about. I'll kind of let you introduce the rest, but Rob has been very kind to me the last year or two, letting me go on these live streams, and that's kind of how I met him. And a funny fact is that my mom is probably his #1 fan. She just like reads all your emails, probably more than mine, and just like absolutely loves them and tells me how great they are. So welcome.
That is awesome. Thank you for that intro. And I think that is one of my proudest achievements. Whenever I was like, Troy Erickson's mom is in my top 1% club, which is pretty cool. Troy was kind of texting me yesterday, and he was like, Rob, I need you to give me a title for your presentation. You go live tomorrow. And I kind of was putting together some loose like notes in a doc, and I came up with this tagline, which was everything I wish people knew about email that doesn't fit into a neat little box, but it can drive insane results for businesses. And as I was looking at this slide, I was like, I've got to present this to marketers. So if you guys don't mind, let me see in the chat really fast, score this on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you guys think of this headline? A 1 being the worst headline in the world, and a 10 being, oh my gosh, I'm super excited about this. Somebody said 11, or maybe that's just 2 ones. Overall, I'm going to say for marketers, for our group here, this is a meh. It's not very good. Like I see some 4s, I see a 1 there. So this was what I came back with. And this is what I said to Troy yesterday. Revealed the myths, lies, half-truths, and the weirdest emails you need to be sending to turn your list into a raving, engaged, and virtually unlimited money printing machine. Deadline to act, February 7th, 2022. Now, you guys don't mind score this one on a scale of 1 to 10. Do we approve? So see some 9s coming through there. Hopefully you guys are pretty pumped up about this, because I did want to kind of deliver on that promise and get you guys excited about this, because really some of my goals for this presentation today are basically to bust some myths that I see in the email marketing community that really lead people and lead clients that we work with through our agency and through the work we do astray. And then I want to kind of try to empower you guys with some new ways about thinking about email marketing, split tests, and campaigns that are going to allow you to go into 2022 with potentially a whole new mindset and an approach to your email game. Because as you'll see, I kind of like to do things a little bit different than other people, and also kind of weird is kind of baked in. And then I'm going to be sharing some weird email ideas and funnels you should totally try that have worked for our clients and in my own business. And then I want to give you guys some frameworks that you can use to come up with your own split test, so that 6 to 12 months from now, you're the one presenting, and I'm in Troy's group, just kind of chilling with a coffee, watching as some of you guys are today. So who's ready to get weird? For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Rob Allen. I'm the founder and publisher behind kingsofconversion.com, and I'm the least self-promotional person in the world. I hate even putting this slide up here. So I've done things like create the Freelance Copywriting Summit, co-found the Black Friday Summit with Chase Diamond. And the only reason I say this is just so you guys know that I'm not some mystery man. I actually have been around in the online marketing community for quite a while. You can Google me, you'll see I'm a legit guy. But rather than the bragging, the thing that I actually like more is kind of some of the stuff that has surfaced behind the scenes and some nicknames that I've picked up in my career. So here are some of my favorites. That guy who does those crazy copywriting challenges. Have any of you guys actually seen any of the copywriting challenges I've done? So maybe you guys know me through that. If any of you guys have seen my emails, one nickname that I've kind of picked up is the king of middle names, because I love to have fun in that space in my emails. So there's some of them. Rob, please don't tell my mom. I have a real job, Alan. But the nickname that I wanted to really focus on and tell you guys about today is one that my old boss gave me. He said, Rob, you're the copywriter that you've read before you've seen. And the reason that he gave me that nickname, because at one point I completely owned your inbox. Chances are actually one of you guys who's reading this or listening to this, at one point I would say I probably owned your inbox because I was the email copywriter behind 30 plus brands that reached millions of people on a daily basis. Brands like Ancient Nutrition, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, Ryan Robinson's blog. Maybe you guys have seen or heard of any of them. And what kind of writing for these businesses and being at the heart of, businesses that have the ability to hit send and it's like 1 million people on the email list or 1.7 million people on the email list. Those numbers start to become insane. But one thing I started to realize was that it puts you a lot closer to actually being able to find out the truth in the email marketing world. So some of the things that you'll realize, and Troy, I'm sure you can kind of back this up, is that most people never actually test things. They just report anecdotal experiences. So as a result of this, you have lots of stories and myths kind of floating around in the email marketing community about what works and what's the best way to do things. Should you do it this way? Should you do it that way? And sometimes you feel like you're on whiplash. And then the tests that they do run have absolutely no significance. They send it to 100 people. And so they make that the rule for the rest of the world. So being at the heart of some of these bigger businesses and testing some of the things that even some of the more notable people talk about, you find out doesn't necessarily hold up. And then the other thing that you start to learn is that no two lists and no two businesses list are exactly the same. So it becomes very difficult to actually discern what rules and what systems and stuff that you should apply to your list. And so, in other words, when you kind of look at it under this lens, you have full permission to do whatever the HE double hockey sticks that you want. And that's kind of what I wanted to focus in on this presentation today, because I don't know if any of you guys, trying to figure out like what should you do for your clients? What type of funnel should you focus on? And which guru should you listen to? Because that's kind of how I felt as I was stumbling through and kind of working with a lot of these brands. And then I just started to test some things that went against the crowd and they started to work really well. So here's some examples of some of those things. So one time I actually sold 11,000 units of a product that an e-commerce business, they found it at the back of a warehouse. I don't know how you don't notice 11,000 units just in the back of a warehouse, but they were about to throw them away. And I came up with a cool idea and a hook for a promo that was able to actually turn this product that was essentially ready to be just thrown into the trash and actually turned it into a really cool promotion that sold 11,000 units in just like 3 days, which was insane. I've generated $210,000 from a single email telling people why they should not, and explicitly why they should not buy the product. I wrote what I call a backwards cross-sell promotion campaign for a product that nobody thought these two products should go together. So one was actually a careers product and one was actually an entrepreneurship product. And you would think that these two things can't go together, but I actually wrote a cross-sell campaign that converted at 55% to an existing customer base for a $2,000 product by kind of turning some things in the traditional way we think about email on its head. And we doubled the conversion rate of it on a product launch funnel, the one where you got traditional video series, by actually deleting half of the content. So these are some of the weird things that we've done. And this all has kind of resulted in me selling $100 million worth of stuff before my 29th birthday, which is actually this Friday. When I tell people about this, some people are like, how do you come up with this? And I don't know if we can curse on here, Troy, but how do you come up with this stuff? Like some of these things are out of the box. Some of them are out of the ordinary. Where do you come up with the idea for some of these tests? So the way that I think about it and the way that I've come up with a lot of these ideas for promotions, ideas for funnels, ideas for flows and email hooks and all this stuff is really just based on two guiding principles. First principle is thinking, where if we can just come up with these two rules, then everything else can kind of originate from this. We can start to come up with so many ideas, and I'll show you some examples of that in just a minute. My most foundational principle in almost everything that I do is doubling down. If you find something that's working, do exponentially more of it. And you want to take this to the logical extremes so that we can do more of what's working. And then the other thing is the principle of inversion. So if any of you guys are big fans of Charlie Munger, I don't know if you're in that space, but one of his favorite principles is to take problems that you are considering or take choices that you're traditionally going to try to make and think of it in the opposite. So sometimes some of my best ideas have come from looking at the traditional approach to a funnel or an email campaign and saying, how could we actually turn every single piece of it on its head And sometimes this blows up in your face, but sometimes it leads to really big wins. So everything kind of originates from these two principles. So now who's ready to get weird? I want to talk to you guys about some of the weird split tests that we've kind of tried and different campaigns and emails that have worked by really using these two principles as the foundation of everything. So this is kind of how I think of it as a process. So typically what you'll have is some real world observation, either something that you see with your clients list, or it could even be outside of an email program altogether. But what you want to do is try to find an observation that relates back to one of those two principles. So something that's working that we want to test, could we do more of it? And something that we're doing that we want to consider approaching in the backwards way as a potential test. So what I like to do is just make an observation, and then I try to use those observations to then feed a hypothesis, to create an experiment. So this is the foundation of all the different tests that you might run. So these are just if-then statements. So if this is true, then does this actually happen? And then we just come up with a low effort test to try it ASAP. And this has been a methodology that we use in our agency to really come up with some pretty nifty, cool ideas for campaigns. So let's walk through a couple of examples. So one of my most favorite campaigns that I've ever come up with is actually something I end up calling a reverse sale. So an observation that I kind of had in the real world was that price hike campaigns, or alerting customers that the price is going up to a product or a membership community or something like that, they work ridiculously well. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have done that. Troy, I think you've raised the price of your thing before, but if you send emails like that to your list, you will see a response because there's urgency baked into this type of offer. So this is an observation that I had. But I was looking at the graph of a sale for this promotion that we were doing for our clients, and I said, wow, almost all of the sales from this promotion occurred on the last day, because that's when the urgency is the strongest and the realest, right? Because it's like tomorrow you'll wake up and this thing is literally 2 times more expensive or something like that. So this is an observation I had. And so what I wanted to see is, could we carry that to the logical extreme? What if every day of a price goes up sale actually had that urgency baked into it, which every day there was going to be a literal price increase in the campaign? Could we do something like that? So I created a hypothesis that if the price didn't just suddenly increase, but instead steadily raised over the duration of a promo, then there may be a continuous stream of orders throughout the sale and result in higher sales overall. So we decided to test it, where we raised the price gradually over time, where it was like $1 more expensive, $2, then $3, and so on, exponentially so until the day of the deadline, and then the thing actually became the final price. And this was a split test that we ran that performed exponentially well. So this was an example where we just did a short little promo. I think it was like 5 or 6 days. I ended up raising the price of one of my courses by just $1, then $2, then $4, then $8, then $128. So it was like an exponential rise in the cost of the product. And this was the kind of the breakdown of sales. So we totally got a flip, the inversion, where before all the sales were backloaded on the last day. Now look at this. The 41% of the total sales of this promotion occurred on the day of the announcement, saying, hey, this thing just got $1 more expensive today. And every day you wait, it's going to be exponentially harder to resist this. So this was a fun take on a traditional price goes up sale that crushed it for me. Ended up generating close to $16 per subscriber for just a short promotion baked in, which was really, really nice. And then we rolled it out for our clients as something to potentially test for any time a product was going to go up in price. So you guys should totally steal this idea, because I've never seen anyone do it, and it worked really, really, really well. And I know someone's going to be running a price goes up campaign this year, and you should totally steal this. You guys like this one? So here's another observation. I realized, kind of looking at one of our clients' account, I saw anytime that we sent more personalized emails based on the person's behavior, we saw a boost in response. So, if they're clicking around on the website, they get a browser abandoned or a cart abandoned, those types of emails typically have a much higher response rate. This, you guys are email pros, this is not game-changing news. But one thing I realized is that during a typical promotion sale for this type of e-commerce brand, we would typically only send one email per day. And none of it was actually based on the behavior of the person. Like, if they got picked up in the automation, of course they got scooped up. But what if we started to actually build in personalization into our promos? So that was just an idea that I had because I knew that this was something we could do more of that was already working, but could we just build it into our cadences? So here's a hypothesis I had. If we send a special email to anyone who clicks, and you can actually even experiment with open our earlier sales email, then it's possible we might increase sales dramatically. So we set up a test to actually do this, where we actually set up a because you clicked email during the middle of one of our next sales for a client. So the results of this was we actually 2x the performance of this promotion and sold out of a bottle that was 6 times more expensive by actually having a personalized follow-up kind of baked into each of our ordinary promotions. So, you go into your week and you are planning out your content calendar and you're thinking like, I'm going to send this email, then 2 on the last day. Every single day, we just had a because you clicked that was relevant to the previous message that the person would have received. And you can do this as because you open. And then we followed up with specific objections that were tied to that, the hook and the premise of this email. Doubled performance of the sale. And we sold out of a very expensive bottle that the client was worried that the client was like, we're just trying to test this. For a CBD oil brand. You guys should totally steal this idea because no one is doing this with their weekly cadences, and these emails basically write themselves. Like, I don't know if you can see this one, but it's like, Robert, if you're reading this, it's because you clicked my last email about the limited production of our founders CBD bottles. These bottles are 10x larger. I figured since you clicked, you might at least be slightly interested in grabbing one of them, or maybe you were curious to see if the coupon code still worked. It does. We just tested it. And then it's just like 3 objections with that email. Perfect. And you will crush it for your clients just by adding in that one additional email. And I don't see many brands actually doing this very well. Here's another one for you guys. Please steal this one. If I give you any tips in this one, please steal this one, because this one is one of my favorites. One of our clients operating in the health space, and when we started working with them, they had all these like historical sales and campaigns that they run in the past. So they wanted to tell us about that. Maybe you guys have clients who are kind of a pain in the side. And so they tell you what worked in the past. And you're like, okay, well, we have to listen to you, but we also want to try new stuff too. So one of the things we did is we sent out a poll to the subscribers about what this sale should be. So one of the things that we noticed that of the people who actually voted on which sale that they wanted, we saw nearly 70% of those people participate in the sale, which just going from vote to sale, that seems like an insane overlap because we just exported the database of customers who use that coupon code and the same people who voted. And we were like, wow. So it seems like when people cast a vote on something and then you give them exactly what they told you wanted, there is a boost in response, which was very, very true. And one of the other things that I kind of noticed was that the normal assumption is that when you run a Black Friday sale or any type of holiday sale, that there is one site-wide sale for everyone. But we just saw that when we sent a sale to the people that they said they specifically wanted, there was an uptake in the number of people who actually participated in that sale. So my hypothesis was, if we give people the chance to vote on every sale in advance of it, and then actually give them the deal that they voted for, sales should increase. And so we set up a quick test to do this, where they were able to actually go out and vote on the next sale. And then we just updated their profile property based on that and sent them the deal that they voted on. And all of them are favorable to the business because we just want them to participate in the sale anyways. But just packaging in a different way could be one thing. Because some people like BOGO 50% off. Some people like free product with purchase. Some people like free shipping. They don't even care about deals. They just don't want to pay shipping. So we ended up beating this client's previous Labor Day sale by 10x because we just had all these segments where we had them vote on the sale in advance of it. Didn't change really anything. We just got them to vote on it. You should do this. You totally should. I've had a few people take me up on this, and they're kind of always slightly skeptical in the beginning, and then it actually really works because they told you it's what they wanted. I got a few more for you guys. This was an observation I had actually working with a brand that mostly focused in kind of selling military gear, and they actually sold to a lot of ex-veterans, a lot of people who were formerly in the military. And one thing I kind of noticed just kind of as I was looking at the support box for this brand is that a lot of them were very status driven. Like they came out of the platoon or whatever, and they, had achieved a certain level of status in their organizations and stuff like that. And I was like, that's very interesting. Like they called each other like captain and sergeant and things. Forgive me for not actually knowing the lingo, but they said these types of things to people and they referred to them like that. And I was like, that's interesting. They're referring to people like that. And I also am actually a huge fan of staying in nice hotels. It's like the one thing I treat myself on. And so we stay a lot with Hilton brands, and we love to stay at Cura hotels. I don't know if any of you guys know those. I spend a lot of money on ads through my business too, so we get a lot of points. So we're able to stay at these places. And one time we were staying at a hotel, and I found out that I wasn't at the highest tier of membership. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally thought that I had the highest level of status. And so instantly I'm like, what do I need to do to become like your diamond platinum member or whatever? So I saw my behavior like that. And I saw that this client we were working with, the status nature to them was kind of ingrained in. So I was like, is there a world where we can tell our top customers that there is a new status tier, similar to how I was at that hotel, where I was like, instantly, I'm like, I have to go shopping with you guys more or do whatever is required to become the top tier of status. And is it possible that by doing that, we may get those people to shop even more passionately than before? This is kind of how we ended up doing it. So I ended up coming with the idea of just being like, let's do a lo-fi execution of this. So this is literally what the email kind of looked like. And it was just like, hey, you've placed 3 orders with us. You are here. And just kind of referring to them, their lingo, and just graying out those 2 other levels of membership and loyalty, and showed them what those actions would require to reach that level 4 and level 5 customer to them. And, level 5 was actually placing a subscription order. What I ended up seeing when this email went out was a flood of reorders from customers who had kind of typically disengaged from the brand. Because after your 3rd purchase, most businesses aren't going to see the vast majority of people who've purchased 3 times go and do their 4th order almost instantly. So we ended up setting this up as an automation and just driving them to that subscription status so that they could know, hey, you've reached the highest tier in our business, that we don't have anybody that's going to go higher than you. You are like the sergeant, captain, corporal, whatever it was of this brand. And it performed very, very well. So this is an example of kind of trying to take something from the real world we know that was working really well and saying, what is the logical extreme of this? Could we just push those people who we had already considered to be tapped out to buy even more from us? So very weird email, very weird premise. And if any guys are curious to it, I can send you a copy of it because it worked really well. Here's one more. I don't know if any guys noticed this with some of your clients or just in general, if you have your own list, but emails that say have a mistake in them, you see an almost instant spike in engagement. Oops, I made a mistake. I did this thing. People love to know when you screw up. So you see sometimes people like build in these broken links into their funnels, and I don't like that. But if there is a true mistake, pointing it out, because owning up to it can make your customers be really engaged with that type of email, and then they'll kind of pay attention to the sales messaging as a result. But I noticed in my own behavior is that when like big brands, if for example, Amazon sent me an email and it's like, we screwed up, take 10% off today, like to come back and shop. I'm like, well, it's just generic. It's stale because it's a big brand and you don't really believe them. But I had a hypothesis that if I could do this on behalf of an actual person in the business. So I said, if we send a real, I made a mistake email on behalf of the actual person in charge of making the mistake in the business. And this was a brand that was kind of, not necessarily person first, but bringing in a new character or bringing in this inventory manager, which I'll show you guys in a sec, could it actually increase the engagement, and then sales would inevitably happen as a result because of the way we positioned it. So we ended up setting this up as a quick test where there was a massive amount of overstock in this e-commerce business's warehouse, where they had bought too much product and they were actually switching labels, and they needed to get rid of all of this flavor within like a week because they were going to be paying every minute that they didn't get that out of the warehouse. So I ended up coming up with the idea to send an email on behalf of the inventory manager, admitting to this mistake and then asking for the customer's help. And I promise you, some of you guys are going to be sending some emails this year where there's overstock, there's inventory that's got to go, something like that. Do this. It worked insanely well. This email ended up generating close to $200,000 in 48 hours. And we completely sold out the product line that the company, they didn't think they were actually going to sell it, because this was the flavor that did not sell very well. But I wanted to kind of read part of this to you guys because I think it's kind of interesting positioning that I don't think a lot of brands would immediately assume is going to work. But if you kind of know in the back burner that this is a weird email you have in your back pocket, you can throw it in. So it says, "Hi, my name is Justin. I'm the vice president of operations at the company. I know hearing from me is a bit unusual, but I'm reaching out to you personally because I need your help. You see, my team put in a big purchase order for our top selling keto-based stuff. Normally that wouldn't be a problem. This stuff usually flies off shelves, but then we reformulated, added in this stuff, put in this other thing, and this left me with a ton of inventory that we would no longer be selling. So, and I said the CEO's name of the business has asked me to get rid of it. All of it. Seriously, every one of these flat tubs has to go, no exceptions. So I'm going to do something we've only done once before in history, practically give away the world's most premium exogenous ketone product to you to help me participate in this. So customers got this email, guys, and I thought you would have thought the Shopify had broken this day because it was like, it went out and it even had the guy's name in it, VP of operations, boom. Sales just kind of flooded through as a result. Owning up to the mistake because the business was going to try to like sneak it in where it's like get free product with the purchase every time you shop with us or whatever. And it probably would have still sold out, but it was nice to be able to say, hey, we did this. We cleared you out in 48 hours. You're good. You're all set. So I've done a lot of these. I know Troy's asked me to keep the time tight, but I've done some things like emails with no links that actually 3x sales, deleted all those different pieces of the funnel and actually 6x the profits, done things like free trials for courses and many more. But really it all kind of comes back to those two things that I told you guys at the beginning, those two foundational principles of saying, what is the logical extreme where we observe these things in the real world and how can we do more of it? Or how can we pursue this in potentially the completely opposite way? Because sometimes you get some insanely breakthrough things as a result.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. That was amazing. And I'm not just saying it, but I took more notes on this presentation than I have in a long time for all the presenters that we have in the group.
I didn't know what to expect. I don't know who you are. I do now, but this was like insanely valuable. So it was worth popping on just to tell you thanks. Like this was really, really good call. Stuff I can use right away. So appreciate it, man.
So hopefully you guys like this one. If you do, be sure to actually like the video and subscribe to the channel. I create a ton of email marketing content and copywriting tips just like this. And I think you'll really like seeing these updates on a regular basis.